Hi, welcome back to my channel, and thanks for coming back. If you watched our first video and you're back for more, I really appreciate you. As promised, today starts our review of the customizations that I've done so far in this van to make it more suitable for what we wanted to use it for. What you find out with these very small compact RVs is one size does not fit all. And so you might be like me and you come home from the dealership and immediately start finding ways to customize it. The very first thing that I did when I brought this home was rip out the bathroom door. So it came with the slider door, and being 6 foot tall inside that enclosed wet bath, I definitely felt like I was being locked in. Definitely not a good feeling. So that door had to go. And I literally ripped it out and threw it out the side door. I really haven't come up with a permanent solution for the bathroom yet. I think ultimately what I would love to do is find a solution that allows a shower curtain to swing out a little bit from the bathroom to allow a little more space in there, maybe even a little more changing room. For right now, I'm just using a tension rod and a pretty shower curtain that I like, and I change it based on the seasons. I will put up a fall themed one in the fall and this more standard one other times. But it gives me the flexibility that, you know, you can go in there and you can kind of bump your elbows out and move around in that tiny little wet bath and be able to have some options as far as moving around. Now, as far as actual showering in that shower, I'm the only one who's ever used it. It's too short, so I literally have to sit on the toilet to wash my hair. The way I have it designed right now is I have a plastic shower curtain that hangs on the old slider of the door, and I have little clips that will hold that plastic in place so that if I do move around, I don't bump the shower curtain and end up with water all over my floor. So I've showered. I mean, I've only showered in it, I don't know, maybe 3 times, but it's doable. If you know you're not at a campground and you just really need a shower to get cleaned off for the day, it's doable. One of the other items that I upgraded pretty quickly, and I wouldn't consider this a modification, but it's one of those things that a lot of van owners will do, is these guys right here are what came with the van itself. So they're a fabric curtain that go over the windows. They work just fine. They are magnetic, so they just attach right to the various windows in the van, around the cab and the side slider window. The problem with these is no insulation value whatsoever. If you are trying to stealth camp and you don't want light to leak out of the vehicle where you are set up to camp for a night, these aren't going to do a darn thing for you. 9 times out of 10, whether it's winter and you're trying to keep the cold out or summer and you're trying to keep the heat out, a more insulated version is what you're going to be looking for. So if insulation is your need, you're going to want to go upgrade with something like this that you can use, that's going to give you that insulation factor. And this one's got the nice tan on the inside to match the interior of the van, but on the outside black, so that it helps with insulation value and that stealth that you might want to block out light coming out of the van when you're trying to hide while you're camping. Now that's what I use for the back doors and the windshield, side doors, and the side slider. At the dinette here in the kitchen galley and by the beds used to look like this. They had the roll-up style of blind and these valances. You'll notice here in the dinette area, I've replaced that roll-up blind. These are fully insulated and have the buttons. I'll show you a little bit closer in the back what they look like when they're not tucked up underneath the valance. So back here in the bedroom, you'll see this also used to have that same valance wrapped around the window. And I just drilled these honestly right into where the valances were. And these little buttons just go like this. You drop this down. You can see the Velcro down there in the corners. And I think what I'm gonna do is go ahead and get something for the back side. I just haven't got around to it yet. But taking those valances off, you know, they give you a couple more inches in your sleeping space. And if you caught my first video, you know that we have split our beds into twins. So having that extra couple of inches actually might make a difference. One addition I made to the back of our van is this iPad mount. It's just convenient. It either fits here or we can swing it around and mount it here at the foot of Scott's bed. Whoever wants to watch television can mount the iPad there and be able to watch TV in the back of the van, since the TV in this rig is up front. One addition we did need for our tailgating excursions was better speakers. So we have the Roku TV in the van that I upgraded from the non-smart TV it came with. And then we have a much larger one that we put on a tripod when we're tailgating. But the sound's not the best from those Roku TVs. And so I went ahead and purchased some of the Roku wireless speakers and was really pleasantly surprised. Then when we stopped tailgating for the season, I decided, hey, maybe those should be a permanent solution inside the van. So that's sure enough what I did. I popped them right up here in the pizza oven, as we call it. And we have really nice wireless sound coming from the TV. When we first got the van, we of course didn't know for sure what it was going to mean to us, what we were going to use it for, if it would be something that maybe we found out really didn't fit what we wanted to do, our lifestyle or the adventures that we wanted to take. And so initially, we came up with solutions for certain things in a lesser expensive manner. For instance, Scott didn't like the idea of me traveling, and often I travel by myself, without a spare tire. These rigs don't come with spare tires. Where a spare tire would normally be mounted is where they're putting things like gray holding tanks, and lithium batteries in my case. Shortly after we purchased the van, he was able to locate a factory wheel and tire setup and had that ordered. And then we had to make a decision about how we were going to mount those, how we were going to haul those. And these vans come with bike carriers. And many people turn those bike carriers into their spare tire carrier. We decided to use that to install a box. We purchased a Yeti haul-out box, and we came up with our own solution on a little bit of storage on the back of the van. And that served us well. We used a Wilco swing arm spare tire mount that mounts into the hitch receiver and then swings out of the way when you want to open the back doors. It sounds easy, but it's kind of a pain in the butt, if I'm honest. And so that led me to my first major upgrade. So after 2.5 years of having a great time in this van, visiting family, going tailgating, adventuring out in the forest here in our area, I knew that I was completely sold and it was time to start doing some major upgrades. And so the first one was fixing the spare tire and storage on the back of the van. Which might make you wonder, what exactly is on my wish list? Remaining items include upgrading my solar from 190 watts to 500 or more, removing that wine guard that you see next to my air conditioner on the top of my van, which serves no purpose but draws power, adding an AC soft start, which helps with the power draw when air conditioners start up, replacing our kitchen faucet, which just isn't a nice design, with something with a flexible arm and sprayer, installing a digital rear view mirror. And finally, now that our rear doors will open easily, we need a good screen system that will allow us to enjoy having the van wide open without bugs intruding into our space. So first things first, remove all the gear from the back of the van.
We've made it. It's super loud because 24 is right over there, but the great big mods start today, and I am so excited to get this van outfitted and ready to go.
Huge shout out to the folks at Site 7 in Chattanooga, Tennessee, who set me up in their office space so that I could work while they were doing the improvements on my van. Look how beautiful this is. So clean, so awesome. So you can see inside this box, I've got 2 sets of leveling blocks, our toolbox, hose and water accessories, power accessories, pop-up chairs, my pop-up trash can, and there's plenty of space still left. Most of these, other than the power cord and hose, were inside the van, taking up precious space that I can now use for other things. This van came equipped with a removable ladder and mount system that also took up space inside the van. That's all gone now. This might be a little harder to see, but while we were in the shop, Justin took really good care of me, and that wine guard is now gone. Check that one off the wish list. All right, folks, we're back in WhitsGetaway. Let's talk creature comforts. So, for instance, I don't go anywhere without having ice for end of the day cocktails, and quite frankly, my morning liquid IV. So having an ice maker in my van, believe it or not, was a must-have. And I bought my first one off of Amazon. I sat it on the stove. I forgot about it. I threw water and ice all over the floor a couple of times. Then I learned a little better and plugged it in on the floor so it would run while I was driving, so my ice was ready when I got there. And, you know, just made it work. Of course, one of the other creature comforts that nobody can live without, okay, maybe some people can, but surely not me, is coffee. Up here in our cabinet, we have our little guy sitting right back there. And you're going to hear a common theme here very soon about all of these magnets I have all over. And shout out to Silwy, German company. They've come out with all of these RV options. But up here, this black pad that you see here is actually a magnetic pad. And they sell things like these mugs. They're so cute, but they have magnets on the bottom of them. And so they sit up here. This is a ceramic mug. I don't have to worry about it getting broken and thrown all over the place while I'm driving. It just sits right up here on this magnetic sheet and it sits still. My Keurig machine sitting back there has magnets on the bottom of it that hold it in place as well. And so once everything is up here, they hold still. I also put a magnet on the bottom of my hand wash, and I will just refill this bottle as I use it so I can continue to keep that guy in place on the magnetic sheet. Now I've done the exact same thing down here with the ice maker, and the ice maker is now sitting on 4 pads. If you can see those 4 pads, these have a gel stick backing to them, so these can actually be peeled off and reused, but they are solid. I've driven several hours with the ice maker on these, and you know, hard stops, sharp turns, it sits still. It's pretty awesome. Other little creature comfort type items, more of the Silwy accessories, including the salt and pepper shaker you see here and a couple of our spices. And these just actually hang right here from a magnetic strip. One of the newer upgrades that I am working on, and I haven't quite figured it all out, is I did buy a blink system. I am honestly more of a ring girl myself at home, but the blink system is smaller, it's more compact, and I do have 5 cameras. I just haven't quite figured out how I'm mounting them yet. I know that there are some outdoor mounts now that I do have the accessories on the back of the van that would enable me different mounting options. Front, I haven't quite decided. I do have some magnetic mounts, but I don't know if they would be strong enough to withstand staying out during travel, which is fine. It would just mean when I set up in the evenings, I need to remember to, you know, pop them out on the van. It would be super nice if I did have it permanently mounted, so, you know, I could just pull in and be able to fire up a device to be able to see what's going on outside. As you can imagine, once you're in the van and you put up all your blinds, pull down all the insulated window covers, and you can't see anything outside. And so it's really nice to be able to have cameras to be able to take a peek outside. Hopefully one thing I'm not sounding like is a walking advertisement, because let me promise you something, nobody's paying me anything for this. I'm just sharing with you the items that I love that make this camper more like home. When you are camping at campgrounds, occasionally you'll have, good internet options. But from what I've experienced, they also don't have the best Wi-Fi options. They just don't have the best internet providers. So having Starlink gives me internet as long as I have vision to the sky. And I leave it mounted in the skylight whenever I can. And I have a tripod that I take with me if I need to get it off the roof and out into an area to clear trees or that kind of thing. I take a tripod with me and I can mount it that way anytime I need to. Generally speaking, when we go tailgating, we'll opt to pull it out of the skylight and make sure that we get really good signal so we don't miss any football games. Other little things that I've purchased for the van that I really love are the soft side baskets that probably as I was panning, you saw kind of stuffed in all the crevices. They work out fantastic because they're quiet. You can store things in them, anything you can think of. I actually use them for when I'm loading up my clothes. I'll carry them inside and load all my clothes in them and carry them out and shove them up in the bins in the back. Those come in really handy. The bars that you noticed in the bathroom that cross across the shelves, I don't know what those shelves are worth. They're so narrow, but with the little bars across them, it makes them worthwhile to be able to store things in there. And I put one just like that also across the medicine cabinet to hold everything from falling out when I open the medicine cabinet. Great addition. Here on the table, you'll see I've got another one of those soft-sided baskets. We've got a little friend over here. Nice little stink bug visiting me. Can't get rid of them. But yeah, nice little soft basket. They pretty much stay put. Over here I do have a nice Scentsy. I did put one of those magnets on the bottom of this guy too. And I love them. They just stick things where you want them and they stay there. And then this light is one of my absolute favorite additions to the van recently. It gives a nice ambiance in the evenings. What have I tried that didn't work? I, like you, watch a lot of YouTube and love to see what other people are doing in their vans and see if those modifications will work for me. And one of those ideas that a lot of folks are doing are putting up curtains in the cab area rather than using window covers. And I did try that at one point. I just couldn't really find a way with the Dodge front end to make a curtain rod work the way I needed it to. The chairs that are in the front of our van and swivel become part of our living area. And so if I install a curtain, it has to be able to go behind those chairs. And I have yet to find a way to mount a curtain rod in a way that works in the way that I want it to. Now, I have seen some of the other van makers that are doing this, and so I'm very curious how they're getting it done because it's still on my wish list, but I invested in curtains and curtain rods, and I just really couldn't figure out how to make it work so far. Other items that I purchased that I didn't find value in, I did buy a Wonder Oven. It was a nice small boxy oven that fit really nicely on my stove, but honestly, it didn't store away very well. That was before I did the modification on my table, and so I didn't have room to tuck it up underneath the table. And quite honestly, the Van Caskies then moved from their Wonder Oven to the Ninja Flip, and I think that stores away much nicer than the Wonder Oven did. I think it's also a better size. You can make pizzas in it. You can get full 9x13 aluminum pans that you can curl the handles up on and fit it in there. We just had Easter dinner and I took my Ninja Flip in the house and used it as a third oven to be able to cook all of the items that we needed for Easter dinner. So it worked out great and it fits. I just throw it on its tail back in the back of the van. It takes up no space, and when I want to get it out, I either plug it into the van to run it or I use my Jackery box. Which brings me to another product that I do absolutely love, which are my Jackery boxes. I have purchased several over the years. As technology gets better, these power boxes get better and better, and I'm just really impressed with the function, features, and usability of the Jackery box now. My Jackery that sits here underneath the table is a Home Power 3600 Plus. And you'll notice that it actually has 30 amp plug that I can literally plug my van into this Jackery box if I need emergency power. One of the things about lithium batteries is that they don't like to be dead. And they can go into a security shutdown mode. They can trip their fuses, things like that. If they get too low on power, they will protect themselves. And so in this van, I do have the option to fire up the engine and use what they call an underhood generator, which is just a secondary alternator, which will supply power to the batteries. But if I'm somewhere where that's just not feasible, having a battery backup like this Jackery box is actually really valuable. And I used it recently when I was on a camping trip just to see what it would do. I'll be honest, after I bought it and I started reading some of the reviews on Facebook and the different places, it didn't give me a lot of hope that this Jackery box was going to be worth much. Well, I can tell you that in my little experiment, I was out in the middle of the woods and my batteries were just at 67%. So I wasn't getting critical, but I wanted to try it out. I had used the Jackery box the night before to run my Ninja Flip to make dinner. And so it was at about 86% battery power when I plugged the van into it. And from 86%, it moved my lithium system from 67 to 91%. So I'm going to take that as a win. This can keep me from getting into that critical state where I'm not able to charge off of the secondary alternator.
Thanks so much for hanging out with me here till the end of this video, where we've been able to look into several of the modifications I have made and some of the fun things that I'm still looking forward to doing. Be sure that you subscribe to my channel so that you get updated when I upload my next video, where I start one small project which leads to a repair job that takes up an entire Saturday. I really enjoy producing this content for you, and I hope you enjoy it too. We'll see you on the next one.